Go Who's and welcome to the 4-3-4 defense. My name is Deuce Prince. I'm a Charlottesville, Virginia native, lifelong UVA football fan, and former college offensive lineman. And we are continuing our entrance meetings series, going over every position for the University of Virginia headed into spring football practices. Hope springs eternal. The weather is always nice here in Florida, but the weather is starting to get a little bit better up north near Charlottesville. We're going to start to hear the crack of the pads again. We're going to start to see guys on the field, and spring ball is going to be an awesome chance for guys to take the next step and really earn their time on the field in the fall. Tight end is a great position for this. Quarterback, which we covered last time, is really a battle for QB1. You want to come out of spring ball with an idea of who your starting quarterback is, whether that's Bo, whether that's Eli, whether that's Cole, whether it's any number of the guys on the QB depth chart. One of them is going to have a QB1 designation by the end of spring ball. Tight end is not so clear. For almost any team, but especially Virginia, Virginia likes to use multiple tight end sets, and so it's not going to be can we find the guy at tight end. It's more so how can we find the right player for each situation, and how can we make each player maximize their value in a given spot. The early part of the 2025 season, I think, shows this really well. Des Kitchings likes to have multiple tight ends on the field, and you could see that through the first half of the season. The main tight ends at that point in time were number 0, Sage Ennis, team captain, great run blocker, and really started to show some skills in the passing game later on in the season, along with number 9, Dakota Twitty. Dakota Twitty was a really, really exceptional and explosive player in the passing game, also brought some juice in the run game. Those two were on the field as kind of a thunder and lightning combination a lot during the early part of the season. Unfortunately, those plans had to kind of change in the early parts of the Louisville game. In the Louisville game, Dakota Twitty crosses the formation in like kind of the split zone blocking steps that we see our tight ends do just about every play. This is something that Dakota has repped thousands of times. And going into his block, either takes an awkward step or the surface, which we now know that the surface at Louisville is suspect to say the least, comes down and ends up having a season-ending leg injury. This was just an awful injury. Obviously robbed Dakota of a season where he was really starting to break out. So Dakota, I do not know how much he will participate in spring ball. It was a serious injury that he suffered, and so I imagine that Tony Elliott, the trainers, Des Kitchings, they're going to want Dak ready for August 29th in Brazil. Dakota is a grad student. He's been at the University of Virginia for a long time. There's only so much that can be gained from him headbanging in spring ball, especially if he's working his way back from an injury. He is more valuable to us on August 29th than he is taking reps on a potentially recovering knee during spring ball. So Dakota, I expect, will be eased back in, and I think that's going to give a lot of really good opportunities to younger tight ends, younger players, as well as our transfers to kind of see what we have, because we know we have a good tight end in Dak Twitty, and so it's going to be up to the other tight ends to step up and really establish themselves. This is a chance to really separate themselves. Starting with our returners, number 81, Takai Kirby. Takai Kirby is a senior. He has been in the program for a long time. Seems to be a really, really solid dude. Solid guy. Has been working his way up the depth chart over the course of his college career. He has a chance to get a lot of reps this spring, I think, and I hope that he's going to have a chance to really work his way into that regular rotation. Seems like a really solid dude. Number 89, John Rogers. John Rogers was a key part of our offense late into the season. He really started to pop up on my screen watching UVA right around the Duke game in the regular season. If you remember that exceptional play where Jamari Taylor goes 80 yards for a touchdown, you can see him and Noah Josie hauling ass, going farther down the field than any tight end or guard should be on any run play, and they're just hauling ass to make the play work, blocking guys downfield, and so that way Jamari could run in an exceptional play. He really started to pop out to me as well during the Gator Bowl. He saw significant action during that game, and so I think he's going to have a chance to do something really special this spring, establishing himself with Sage Ennis now having declared for the NFL draft. Sage is an awesome dude. I had a chance to meet him and his family after the Gator Bowl. Just awesome people. I am so excited for Sage. Whatever team gets him is going to be getting an absolute steal, I think, and we're going to see him on Sundays for a little bit, I think. And so John Rogers, playing style-wise, I think has a chance to fit a similar role that Sage had. I could very well see this thing on August 29th ending up with John Rogers and Dakota Twitty being the two tight end set that we run. Obviously, offenses evolve. We could end up seeing a situation where we run way more 11 personnel with one tight end on the field, but I think at our core, Virginia wants to run the ball, and that's a hell of a lot easier when you have two tight ends on the field, especially given how experienced our offensive line is. This is not a team where we feel squeamish about our ability to run the ball well. Some other returners we have: William Thurber, Justin Zames, Hayden Rollison, Henry Omohundro. These guys have been within the program for at least a little while now, and they're going to have a chance to really separate themselves this spring. For a lot of these guys, Thurber's a sophomore, Zames is a sophomore, Rollison's a senior, Omohundro's a junior. They're really starting to enter the point where spring ball is a chance to earn playing time and really master the offense. My college offensive line coach said that college football really doesn't start to make sense for a lot of guys until spring ball of their sophomore year. So after their sophomore season, when you're getting into college football, summer, headed into fall camp, your freshman year, your head's spinning. You're trying to figure out, being a freshman in college, the speed of college football, the intensity, the obligations. These things are new for a lot of guys, and so they're just trying to keep their head above water. Then you get into spring ball, you're in heavy competition drills, you're still learning the scheme really, and you're just trying to figure out college, and then you enter your sophomore season, you try and play a little bit. If you do, great. Then you go through winter workouts, and now you're starting to see things for the second time, and that's when the game starts to slow down for a lot of guys. So that's why redshirting ends up being so great for a lot of guys, because they get a kind of chance to pressure-free go through that freshman year. So, Zames, Thurber, these guys are reaching that point. Thurber and Zames, Rollison, Omohundro, these guys have been through the program. They understand what it is, what the expectations are, what Coach Elliott wants out of their tight ends. And so this is just another chance of them at the plate to make a difference on the team and really earn their way on the field. UVA has two transfer tight ends coming into the program. Number 88, Connor Cox. Connor is leaving the University of North Carolina to come to the winning side of the South Solstice rivalry. Cox played a decent role for the Tar Heels in 2025. He is a 6'6", 250-pound tight end. He has a chance to be a real thumper in the run game, I think. He's going to have a chance to, be on the better side of this rivalry as well as make a significant impact. Transfer tight ends coming in, they know that Virginia likes to have multiple tight ends on the field and use many of them in the running game as well as in the pass game. So I think that this is a really good fit. Another transfer tight end, number 86, Lucas Ungar. He is coming from New Mexico State. He has a bit of a UVA connection, though. This is not his first time playing with some of the guys on our roster. He played at Stanford prior to New Mexico State, along with Drake Metcalf when Drake was at Stanford. So this is a great opportunity for those two to play together. When Ungar announced his commitment to Virginia, you could see Drake was super excited about it. He was really amped to play with him again. So, this is kind of the weird part of the transfer portal. Drake went from Stanford. He was at UCF, ends up at Virginia. Ungar was at Stanford, goes to New Mexico State, ends up at Virginia. The transfer portal has made this thing so wild. You never know when you're going to play with someone again or play for a coach again. The transfer portal it's wild, man. We have, I think, a chance to see 3 tight ends come out of this spring ball with a serious spot in the rotation. Coming back for fall camp, we know that Dakota Twitty is likely going to be back and he's going to be ready to go. I think Dakota is going to resume being one of the main tight ends in that rotation. I think he provided a lot of value to this Virginia roster. Dak, you could see the difference when we had him, when we didn't throughout the year. The Virginia offense kind of hit a bit of a snag after that Louisville game. If you remember, Washington State, UNC, Wake Forest, these were some ugly football games on the offensive side of the ball. A lot of it had to do with the fact that for Wake, we didn't have Chandler Morris. We also were missing Xavier Brown, but you could definitely see a noticeable difference in our offense. We were trying to figure out what life without two tight ends on the field looked like. So Dak, I think, is going to be back in 2026. I'm very excited to see him. Awesome dude. Really excited to see him play. Kind of at the leading candidates right now. Obviously, Cox and Ungar. We brought these guys in through the transfer portal for a reason, so that they could make and play impactful snaps on the 2026 Virginia Cavaliers. And then Takai Kirby and John Rogers have seen the most action so far out of our returning tight ends, and I expect to see those two in the running as well. There's no such thing as too many quality tight ends. Football has kind of swayed back and forth in personnel groupings. Football used to be very two back, two tight end heavy. Imagine the old style I formation football where it was very much ground and pound, and then you started to see one tight end sets. Then you started to see no tight end sets in the 2000s, and things got so spread out. Tight ends, we thought tight ends were on their way out. You were either going to have to gain 50 pounds and play offensive tackle, or you were going to have to be kind of a Jimmy Graham type tight end that was mainly just kind of a wide receiver that could be a bigger body. We started to see some return back. We saw a lot of 11 personnel, one tight end, one running back on the field in kind of the 2010s. And now it's kind of trickling down from the NFL, but multiple tight end formations are kind of back. If you watch the Kansas City Chiefs, they're in 3 tight end personnel all the time. You bring in 2 blocking tight ends along with a pass catching tight end like Travis Kelce. Having Travis Kelce makes this whole thing a little bit different, but even teams like the Buffalo Bills love to have 3 tight ends on the field. Virginia loved having multiple tight ends on the field in 2025. I think we're going to see evolution in the offense, but I don't think we're going to abandon that entirely, especially with the running back crop that we have, with Peyton Lewis, Noah Vaughn, all like the guys we have coming back, guys in the transfer portal, Jaquan Middlebrooks, like Solomon Beebe. We have a bunch of really good tight ends coming that are going to demand carries, and with the offensive line that we have, with how experienced we are up front, it just makes sense for us to line up in 12 personnel, 1 running back, 2 tight ends, and just run the ball down people's throats. Bo Pribula is very familiar with that. His offense at Missouri was very similar to UVA's offense in 2025. That's going to be an easy transition for him. I think we want to be able to control the game and control the tempo of the game, and a tight end is critical for that. So, obviously, run blocking is going to be a huge part of it, but also since you are on the field as an eligible player, you have to be able to separate in the pass game. That's what Dakota Twitty did so well. That's what we're looking to see out of Rogers, Cox, Ungar, Kirby, as well as the other tight ends on the roster. So I think this is going to be a very, very interesting position group to watch, to see who can separate themselves situationally, not just entirely on the depth chart. Like, you're dressing 4 or 5 tight ends, maybe even 6. You have latitude within that for, let's have a defined red zone run blocking tight end. A guy that we can bring in as TE3, TE4, and just bring this guy in, and we know that he can road grade people. Or we can have a guy that we know when we need to pass the ball more and we need to go up tempo, we can have this guy split off the offensive line, and we know he's solid in the passing game. Virginia loves split zone run plays. Tight ends are going to be a critical part of that. In split zone, the tight end starts on one side of the field, crosses behind the offensive line, and clears the edge defender. The ACC has no shortage of amazing edge defenders, and you have to be a real bad mother as a tight end to run across that formation and make that block. Because if you don't, if you whiff or you get manhandled, that run play is going to not work. Because the running back is told to read that play outside in. And you could see it all through 2025. Jamari Taylor or Harrison Whaley or Xavier Brown or Noah Vaughn's eyes start outside, and they would wind that play all the way back to where the tight end was. So, that crossing, that's just not like, oh yeah, I'm just trying to prevent someone from blowing up the play. Oftentimes, you can end up being one of the lead blockers in that scheme. And so I think it's going to be really, really exciting to watch this tight end group. There's a ton of potential in this group. We have some guys that haven't had a ton of cracks at game day production just yet, and I know those guys are going to be super hungry to get after it this spring, especially with Dak working his way back from injury. There are reps out there to be gained, and I think this team is only going to be better for it. So I'm super excited to watch this tight end group. Drop down below in the comments who you would like to see gain some more reps at tight end in 2026 through this spring ball. Thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far, it's clear that you love UVA football and appreciate what we do here at the 4-3-4 defense. If I can ask just one thing of you, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much. Have a great night, and go Hoos.